So now the shrimp
All you did was?
all I'm doing is some hot water that I had boiling in the kettle. So I'm just gonna pour it over, kind of get the rest of the stuff out. This is part of the cleaning process. And then on to seasoning it. To avoid contamination. So I'm using bleach and so forth, everything that was with the shrimp so that we can make sure that we decontaminate everything, you know. And then I'm gonna use some hot water as well to clean this, right? Because you don't want any cross contamination, is what I mean to say, from any other thing. So you have to clean everything. So this is what I'm gonna do now before I finish cleaning my. Time for me to season it. So I'm using some Himalaya pink salt, some allspice, cumin, a little bit of paprika, slight cinnamon sugar, sage, black pepper, and cayenne. So this is kind of gonna give the shrimp a Cajun feel, but this is not it just to season it. I've also completed my blended Cajun spice. A lot of stuff going on in there, more of the natural aspect. So this is really spicy. There's some Scotch bonnet peppers, jalapeno peppers, and so forth, scallions, garlic, thyme, and yeah. So what I'm gonna do is use a couple of spoons to go ahead and coat the shrimp all around. So I'll use a couple of spoons to put in here, all right, and then just toss it delicately so it can sit. I'm gonna toss it around, add some more till it's completely coated before I start adding the dry spices. Once I'm done with that, I will have it sitting in the refrigerator for about an hour while I prep everything else for today's meal, which is going to be a Cajun basil pesto po' boy sandwiches. That's our dinner today, the Joseph household. So we love our spicy foods, you know, being that we're from Haiti, we're of Haitian descent. Okay, so now that it's coated completely, I am going to add the dry ingredients. I apologize in advance as I cannot tell you exactly how much. I've been cooking since I was 8 years old, so kind of eyeball it a bit, but I would say, for instance, I did 3 spoons of my spice, of my ipis, which I call melanin ipis. And then it's about maybe a spoon of salt, because a teaspoon of salt, teaspoon of all of these, depending on your flavor. What you like? You can increase it, you can decrease it, depending on, you know, if you're not eating too much salt due to cholesterol, high blood pressure, and so forth. But if you like it hot, you can pack on the paprika, which I will do, the cayenne pepper. Oops, gotta find one that's open. Right here, and my sage, which I love, and lastly our black pepper. So I'm going to grind a couple bits in here, like I said, and you see how it's heavily coated. One may think it's, oh my god, this may be too much, but it's really not. Once it's cooked, I'm going to marinate this, put a little bit of olive oil in it, let it marinate. Add a spoon or 2. Voila. Okay, so now these are some of my natural stuff. This is basil and sage, right, in the natural, that I will be growing soon in my garden. And I am going to cut this up. Please, you may want to do a better technique at home. Again, I've been doing this for a while, so I'm kind of used to using the knife like this. This is actually a knife by Chrissy Teigen, which I recommend 100%. It is really good. It's a little pricey, not too bad, but it's a little pricey, but it's worth it. So I'm going to cut this over here into this, along with some Scotch bonnet peppers that I'm going to cut up as well. And I'm going to have that marinating in the fridge until we are ready to prepare. So going back over the pieces now. So you can kind of cut them up. And of course you can do this on your cutting board, which will make it a little easier, but I choose to do it this way. And yeah, so now I'm gonna go ahead and get my Scotch bonnet pepper. So now this is my I'm preparing and this is very strong. They're all, you know, natural. This is basil, this is thyme, in Creole, and this is sage. This is sage. So what I'm gonna do with this is I'm gonna put them into my blender, right? Because I'm making a pesto also to coat the Cajun shrimp once I am done with them. So, and this is also going to be a sauce for a garnish, I should say, for the po' boy sandwich. So right now I'm taking them off the stem. Very simple. I'm just gonna take them out. Again, they are strong. Really, really, really smells really good. So I'm gonna take this off here. Right, I had them. I washed them. They were soaking in some water, just to kind of make sure you cleanse your produce. You have to make sure you wash them, especially during these times. But something I've always done even prior. So taking as much as I need here, right? This is going to be blended with some cumin, olive oil, little bit of red vinegar in there, salt and pepper. Okay. I'm prepping this to put in my blender. So the time I do last, as you guys can see, I was debranching, I should say, the sage and the basil. So now I'm doing the thyme. So for this one, once it's cleaned, you don't want to kind of put it in with the stem. I would suggest you doing it the other way, but I've been doing this again for a while, so I'm pretty used to doing it. So all I'm going to do is peel it off here. As you can see, there is a little stem in the top, and you can easily just brush that off, because what we're really interested in is the leaves, right? So this is the Scotch bonnet pepper that I just rinsed in the water so that I can add. Okay, so now I am going to add a little bit of red vinegar, as I explained earlier. Let me get the oil out. So this is just a red wine vinegar, Publix brand. You can get any brand that you would like to get, that's fine. Just enough to kind of coat it, not too much, because I don't want it to be too tart, tangy, tart. And then for now, I'm gonna add a little bit of olive oil, right? So I think this is gonna be at least, I'll use the cap, because I don't want too much. So this is maybe 2 capfuls, and then I'm gonna see how it blends, and then for me to add my liquids thereafter. It's coated enough for me. It has been marinated, as you guys know, so it was in there maybe for a good half an hour or so. If you have time to leave it in there longer, that's fine, but for me it's gotten coated and marinated well enough. So I'm using an air fryer here by Power XL. So I'm gonna air fry it for about 12 minutes. But before I put it in my air fryer, if I had, what is the paper called again?
Parchment paper.
Yes, I would put that in here first before I put it in. But since I don't, that's fine. I'm just gonna simply coat my air fryer with a little bit of ham just so that it doesn't stick, my shrimp don't stick. And then I am going to add the shrimp to the air fryer in a second, guys. Now I am going to make a base. This is a garnish. So instead of adding mayo or butter or anything, I am going to use Greek yogurt, low-fat plain yogurt for me to start this sauce. So just unraveled it. Okay, so now as you guys can see, this is the same spoon that I use from the pesto, because the pesto is also going to be part of this garnish, right? This is going to go on our po' boy. So I'm going to use, depending on your family size and who you're making this for, I'm going to use about 2 full big spoons of Greek yogurt. That should be enough for my family. Here, let me see. Actually, I may put another spoon in. It's about a good 6 of us. So there we go. Now I am going to add a little bit of salt on here, because remember, this is plain, so there is nothing in here. So I'm going to make it mine. Add a little bit of salt to make sure that it has that. Some paprika. Okay, you can add it to taste, of course. Okay, some grinding black pepper. There's no difference if you guys just have the one that's already fine. That's fine. This is just a preference of mine. And lastly, a little bit of allspice. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to mix all of this goodness together. Mix it, make sure the yogurt is evenly coated with salt and everything else that it needs. See, this is wonderful. And with the Greek yogurt, you guys can do anything with it. Like, it literally is a blank canvas and you can make it whatever you want to make it. So as you can see, this goodness, all the spices are in here, right? So now to kind of make this mimic a remoulade sauce, I'm going to add a little bit of Heinz yellow mustard. Once I get this open, so this is the mustard, maybe a good 3 or 4 squeeze, depending on how you like it, if you like things tangy or not. Mind you, I'm also going to add my basil pesto sauce in here. But before I do so, I have to make sure that this is coated evenly and all the goodness is in here. I'm gonna taste. And it is good, really good. So I'm adding some of the basil pesto, not all, because this has to coat my shrimp as well after it gets out of the air fryer. Want to make sure you get in there, make sure you mix everything, because you don't want to have one section. I will also add a little bit of my melanin epis. Remember, guys, this is spicy, but this is how we do it in our household, so we're okay with that. Okay. And for now, once I'm done, I'm gonna cover this bowl up and let it set in the refrigerator until everything is done and we're ready to eat this magnificent po' boy. Right now, as you guys guys can see, this is the Cajun shrimp. It is done with the air fryer. You don't want to overcook it to over dry the shrimp. So now I am going to dump it in here. As you can see, this is a bowl with some of the pesto Cajun residue. So, because we're going to coat it, right? Remember, this is a basil, and look at all that yummy sauce. Jesus. Remember, this is a Cajun basil pesto po' boy. So now I am going to coat this with some of my pesto. And toss it around. Yeah. So I will let this sit here and marinate while I prepare the bread and all the garnish to go on the and everyone can use whatever bread they prefer. I am going to be using Cuban rolls. You can use French bread, you can use others. I have two selections for my family. This is a Publix brand midnight rolls, which is also pretty healthy, but you can use either or. You can use French bread, whatever it is that you prefer. You can even use the buns, depending on how you like your po' boy, but we're gonna keep it as much authentic as we can. So we're gonna choose to use rolls, okay? Hey guys, so this is my finished product. This is Melanin Cooking's Spicy Cajun Basil Pesto Po' Boy.